Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Gretchen Carey with the community calendar, and Anthony Matos with sports. Thank you for joining us. Town meeting regularly scheduled for January 24th, 2022 has been postponed, Town Clerk Amy Warfield said in a press release. After discussion between the moderator and the health department, it has been decided that the best option at this time is to postpone the meeting for 3 weeks, when the COVID situation should be better, and have an in-person meeting at that time. The new date for the meeting will be Wednesday, February 16th at Burlington High School at 7:30 p.m. Additionally, Amy Warfield said the town meeting will have to be held in person because the special legislation from the state allowing for hybrid in-person virtual meetings pertaining to town meetings expired in December. The town was attempting to get an extension, but that did not make it through the legislative process in time for this session. The Omicron variant has been causing a spike in cases across the state and much of the country in the past few weeks. According to data from the Mass Department of Public Health, the 14-day average of daily incidents on December 30th was 80 per 100,000 residents in Burlington. On January 6th, there was 146. On January 13th, there was 246. And in the latest number released on January 20th, the average per 100,000 residents was 249. Health experts advise residents to get vaccinated and a vaccine booster to help protect themselves. Also continue to wear masks and social distance as much as possible. Governor Charlie Baker announced 2 new rapid test programs for early education care centers on Wednesday to help educators safely do their jobs and to help families access care. The state is rolling out 2 new testing options for early education centers. A rapid testing program for kids and teachers who may have COVID symptoms and rapid testing for cohorts or classes. Under the symptomatic rapid testing program, children and staff who show symptoms can take a rapid test, and if they're negative, they can stay in care. Under the rapid cohort testing program, close contacts of a confirmed positive case can stay in care provided they test negative for 5 days. This will eliminate the need to quarantine those close contacts, which in some centers can translate into an entire classroom, Baker said. Distribution of these tests will be free and supported by Neighborhood Villages, a nonprofit working with the state. Centers must be enrolled with Neighborhood Villages to receive the test, a process that is also free. Tests are scheduled to be provided starting the week of January 31st. According to officials, there are over 7,500 children's child care centers in the state that are eligible to receive these tests. The test will be provided to all types of children, both centers and those in private homes. The test will be available for any child over the age of 2. Governor Baker said he believes these programs will have a big impact on early education in Massachusetts. Here he is on the topic.
And we expect the rapid test program will be a game changer for many folks in early education and care, as the vast majority of the kids they serve are under the age of 5 and therefore can't be vaccinated at this point in time. We know it can be extremely disruptive for so many parents, caregivers, and kids to have to pull kids out of care, especially without knowing whether or not, in fact, they're testing positive or not.
After a lengthy discussion, the Burlington Board of Health once again opted not to put a mask mandate in effect at last week's meeting. The mandate is a standing item on the board's agenda to give them the flexibility to quickly make changes to town policy if the situation warrants it. Board Chair Ed Weiner said they would continue the practice of keeping it on the agenda for the foreseeable future in case cases of COVID continue to grow and they feel it appropriate. During the meeting, it became clear there was not a consensus among the board members or the participants from the public who called in to have their voices heard. Those on the board against the mandate said they did not because they don't believe in the effectiveness of masks, but instead because of the difficulty of enforcement. Dr. Wayne Saltzman and Vice Chair David McSweeney joined Health Director Susan Limonello, arguing that the Health Department is not equipped to respond to every complaint of noncompliance, and the Burlington Police Department has already said they have other more pressing responsibilities than doing so. Dr. Saltzman pointed out the board does not have a mask advisory and strongly encourages people to wear them when they are inside or cannot socially distance. He also said he rejects the sentiment in a comment he saw online by someone who said they enjoy shopping in Burlington because masks are optional. Here he is on that subject.
There was a letter that said that this individual came to Burlington to shop because Burlington was mask optional. Let me be clear. This board has maintained a mask advisory since after there was an initial mandate a year ago. I would definitely not view the Burlington position as a mask optional one. There is an advisory. People should be wearing a mask. We need to be vaccinated. We have effective vaccines. And to fill in those gaps, we should be wearing a mask. We should be social distancing. We should isolate if we are ill. We should be washing our hands. We should be doing all of those things. This is not a mask optional town. This is a town that advocates for a mask advisory currently.
In the end, no motion to create a mask mandate was put forward, and the item was continued to the next meeting. They did vote to work with the town administration and the select board to get posters and other educational materials created encouraging mask wearing. The Burlington School Department has made getting a new building at Fox Hill due to space issues and problems from the age of the building. BNEWS Director Rich Hosford took a tour of the school with Principal David Rosenblatt to check out the situation. He has this report.
Fox Hill Elementary is rapidly running out of room. Students are learning in the halls, equipment is outside classroom doors, and what were once open hallways have been converted into offices or classrooms. I went to take a tour with Principal David Rosenblatt, who said it is becoming difficult to think up new creative ways to use the space allowed to them.
So I think we're at capacity. We've done an incredible job. We've done the best we can about creating every possible space that's here. Our Director of Facilities, Bob Kuna, and all the workers in the Facilities Department have done an exceptional job about making spaces, hallway spaces, small rooms into classrooms. So grateful and so thankful, but we're just kind of at our capacity right now, and there's no other space to create.
Mr. Rosenblatt said the space issues at the school have forced them to move students around.
Just due to the increased numbers, the increased enrollment that we've had, it's led to more classes at different sections. We now have 5 classes in first, second, and third grade. So then music has had to move to the cafeteria. Our interventionists have had to move to the hallways and are learning in the hallways now. And they also have just a very small space office, which has just led to a lot of learning spaces in the hallways, which, while it's still important the kids are learning, it can cause a lot of disruptions. You know, we've reminded kids, we've reminded staff over and over, try to do your best to acknowledge people working in the hallways, but still, it's an elementary school. It's challenging to move from space to space without making some noise.
Spacing requirements in response to the pandemic have exacerbated the situation, but Mr. Rosenblatt said that is not the only factor.
Even before the pandemic, the space crunch was starting. It has been exacerbated throughout the pandemic, where we've had to limit the distancing in the classrooms. But even when we go back to regular distancing, people not wearing masks, people not having to distance, there's still not enough room for teachers to store all their things, to store their furniture. And so we're just going to have to continue to use all these hallway spaces and store things in the hallway until we're able to get more space.
The Burlington School Department has made building a new facility at Fox Hill a priority, but it is a long process, and the first step is to apply to the Massachusetts School Building Authority for help with funding.
Part of the eligibility phase of the project, the MSBA needs to confirm all of the information about our building, and then they need to confirm enrollment. So what we're doing is reporting back to the committee what MSBA has found. So MSBA is predicting a decrease in our enrollment. So that's something that we need to consider, the size of the building, because we don't want to undersize our building since these are 40 to 50-year buildings.
There is also going to be a vote by town meeting to fund a feasibility study as part of the process.
At the town meeting, if we get approval, we will attend an MSBA board vote meeting where hopefully they will approve us and move us into phase 2, which would be the feasibility part of the Fox Hill project.
Finally, I asked Mr. Rosenblatt how he thinks a new building would impact student learning.
You know, I think in a lot of different ways. As we had our Fox Hill Building Committee meeting last night, and one thing that I noted, you know, having the small class sizes in Burlington, it allows teachers to build really strong relationships with the families in their class, really strong relationships with the students. It allows teachers to really focus on the academic needs and the progress of each of their students. So I think having this new building, opening up the space, having the smaller class sizes that we've maintained in the past will allow us to do all of those things.
From Fox Hill Elementary, I'm BNEWS Director Rich Hosford.
Tensions over the teacher contract currently under negotiation spilled over into last week's school committee meeting. A number of educators called in via video chat during the public participation to share their concerns and show support for the Burlington Educators Association and the union members on the negotiating team. The two main issues were their perception of not having their views respected by the school committee members on the subcommittee handling the negotiations, and a proposal to remove elementary school teacher flex on some days of the week. Here is Fox Hill teacher Bill Lozano.
I 100% support our bargaining team's continued insistence on maintaining flex time language for the elementary educators. We already go above and beyond our flex time, working long after kids leave our classrooms or after our own kids go to bed. Or an hour or more before school starts in the morning, on weekends, at home, when we'd rather be spending time with our families, and all of the above. I 100% support our bargaining team's continued demand for the reduction of our 187-day calendar. I 100% support our bargaining team's repeated calls for the need to rework the calendar to include early release days for PD and teacher collaboration time. I 100% support our bargaining team's refusal to extend the school day by 15 minutes, which is roughly 6 full school days to our school calendar. I 100% support our bargaining team's continued engagement with the school committee in demanding a contract that respects us. The key word being respect.
In an email to BNews, school committee member Christine Monaco, a member of the subcommittee handling the negotiations, explained that elementary teachers are contracted to work 65 minutes outside of when the students are in school. She said 15 minutes have to be before school and 15 minutes have to be right after, but the rest of the time is at the teacher's discretion. She said they were proposing to have the bulk of the remaining 35 minutes, now referred to as flex time, be mandatory either before or after school a couple of days a week for meetings and other activities. She said Superintendent Eric Conti had suggested this would be preferable to interrupting the school day. However, the educators who called into the meeting did not agree. They pointed out that many of them already work more hours than their contract calls for, and having to attend meetings during time they normally control would further impact their workdays. Members of the subcommittee said they will continue to negotiate with the BEA to get a contract and acknowledge that it is a difficult process. Here is member Martha Simon.
It really stinks to negotiate with teachers' unions because it is my job to support the teachers, and it's also my job to support the town and the students and the families here. And those interests are not always aligned completely. I do what I can to respect the teachers as much as I can. It's also even higher emotions and higher stakes because of the pandemic that we're living through right now, and it's been going on for way too long, but it isn't over. There's nothing any of us can do about it, and I feel bad that, I know that sounds weak, but I feel bad that it's continuing to be a problem, and I wish we didn't have to negotiate a contract this year. But we all would like there to be a contract, so we do continue.
Burlington Public Library's book bundles of personalized readers' book recommendations from the library's well-read librarians, as well as a free home delivery for Burlington's homebound residents. BNews reporter Tad Stefanak has this look.
The Burlington Public Library offers many ways to get you their materials, including books by the bundle.
It's a bundle of books that librarians will pick out for you monthly or bi-monthly, and We like to call it like our version of a subscription box, but instead of just being a book that a publisher wants you to read, it's books that librarians have picked out specifically for you that we think you'll like based on what you've told us and what you liked in the past. So there are sign-up forms online. We offer it for 3 ages, grades 3 to 5, grades 6 to 12, and adults. So if you go to our website and you end up on the book bundles page, you'll see a link for each individual form. Once it's filled out, it goes to the department that's appropriate. So if it's a teen, then it goes to me. If it's an adult, it goes to reference, and someone is assigned who will pick out those books. If you sign up at the beginning of the month, you'll definitely get a book bundle by the next month, but if it's towards the end, you might see a bit of a delay. While we call it book bundles, we will also just do lists of suggestions. So if you prefer ebooks or e-audiobooks, we're still happy to give you those personalized recommendations. A book bundle you can't have delivered. It is something that you just pick up here, but it is similar to our homebound service in that we're talking to them, we're getting feedback, and we're picking out books that we think that they will enjoy and checking them out to the card. But the book bundle is designed for anyone, and it doesn't have a delivery service.
The Burlington Public Library also offers home delivery for the homebound.
If you cannot get to the library, and you live in Burlington, those are the 2 criteria, we'll deliver to you every other week, as many books as you want, and the types of books that you want. The first thing is, do you want fiction or nonfiction? Do you need large print or regular print? And I talk with the person and get an idea of what type of books they like to read. We have a couple of people that only listen to audiobooks, and then we get specific as to the type of genre. Every person gets, if they want, books chosen specifically for them. I've got homebound patrons that only read nonfiction. I have homebound patrons who only read mystery and suspense. It's an incredible mix of people and book tastes. And we have 2 dedicated volunteers that have been doing this for probably 10 years. And they've made these deliveries month in and month out.
From the stacks of the Burlington Public Library, I'm BNews reporter Tad Stefanak.
A new bakery in Burlington will make you professionally decorated desserts just the way you like them. Bliss Confection Company, located at 392 Cambridge Street, is a custom order business owned by a pair of pastry chefs that opened last November just in time to make pies for Thanksgiving. The owners are Kristen Leonard and Delia Mooney, and both have a good amount of restaurant experience and professional training. Leonard and Mooney said they had long dreamt of owning such a shop as Bliss for a while, but thought it wouldn't happen until later in life. Then the pandemic struck. Leonard was furloughed from her job, and Mooney, though still in the restaurant industry, wanted a change. They specialize in cakes, cupcakes, macaroons, and decorated cookies, but are happy to create whatever you are imagining, their website states. Customers can order online and then pick up your item at the specified time. They are open to the public Tuesdays to Thursdays by appointment, with walk-in hours on Fridays and Saturdays when they have a variety of grab-and-go items for sale. Burlington Parks and Recreations has released their winter brochure to highlight all the activities they are offering this season. BNews reporter Robert Parris spoke with Director Brendan Egan for the latest update. Let's have a look.
The brisk cold air isn't stopping the Parks and Recreation Department from delivering a fun-filled winter for the community. I spoke with Parks and Recreation Director Brendan Egan for another update and found out what's in store for winter 2022.
You know, this is the time where our fitness programs really fill up, especially with New Year's resolutions and people wanting to, get in better shape or take off those extra pounds they put on over the holidays.
Head on over to Simons Park for the return of the Winter Carnival on February 5th.
Winter carnivals we've done, but that's to be expected in February. That will be back. Planning is ongoing. There will be a chili cook-off again, which is probably one of the highlights of the event. And then, of course, we'll have some surprises in store, but that will be at Simons Park, as you mentioned, on the 5th.
I'm Robert Parris for BNEWS Weekly.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown to see if the cold weather will persist or if we'll get a break from the frigid air. We'll also check out the community calendar with Gretchen Carey to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone, this is Peter Brown, focused your weather for the next 7 days. There's really not much I can say about this forecast other than it is going to be teeth-chattering cold around here. Really nothing different from what we've been seeing since about Christmas time here in the Burlington area. Now, as we started our period on Friday, we're going to be seeing fair weather out there, but very chilly conditions. Again, barely getting out of the teens and low 20s, so another very frigid start to our period, another very cold start to our weekend. Now, as we get into the weekend, we're going to be having to keep an eye on a series of storms that are going to be to our south. Right now, the European model, which is usually a little bit better at forecasting details in the mid layers of the atmosphere down to the surface where we have to do all of our business. They're saying we could have a fairly strong storm coming up the coast going into Friday into Saturday. Now that is going to bring us this time a chance of heavy snow instead of heavy rain like we saw with the past storm that just went by in the Burlington area. But now the American model is saying that both of these storms are going to be fairly weak and pass well to our south. So this is again something we're really going to have to keep a very close eye on the next couple of days. Nothing set in stone, but just keep that in your back of your mind that we could have another significant storm here, but this time with frozen precipitation in the Burlington area. Now, as we round out our period getting towards the end of the week, next week we're again going to be looking for temperatures at this time of the year only in the mid-30s, and it is going to probably be 10 degrees colder than that, so some real cold stuff almost every day. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at those, what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us here in the Burlington area over the next 7-10 days in terms of temperatures and precipitation. Again, on our temperature map, nothing new here. The entire eastern half of the country is looking for below average temperatures, and that certainly includes us here in the Burlington area. Now, looking at precipitation chances, looks like they're calling for us to have about average to below average precipitation. Again, that's going to be hinging upon what happens this weekend, if this storm gets its act together or not. If it does not, it is going to definitely be a bone dry period coming up where I think we're going to be seeing, again, wall-to-wall sunshine, but very cold air spilling down from central Canada. So as we go ahead, let's take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up for us here in the Burlington area. Again, starting on Friday, bone chilling out there, wind chills near zero, barely getting out of the teens around 20, so very, very cold, very chilly at night, down into the single digits again. We may see a little bit of moderating again on Saturday and Sunday. Again, that's contingent upon whether we have a storm coming. That will raise our temperatures a little bit up into the upper 20s, but may bring with it the chance of some heavy snow. Again, that's not set in stone. We may have a colder weekend than that, which would force this storm south of us, so stay tuned to all of your local media outlets for any developments on what could be another potentially good-sized storm for us or a miss out to sea. Now, as we start out our work week again next week, looks like we're going to be returning to fair skies and chilly conditions, and that is going to be right through Thursday. Really no big warm-ups coming. In fact, looking even further ahead going into the first week in February, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing many temperatures at or above freezing for at least a couple of weeks. So those of us who love the warm weather, it is going to be very hard to find, even going all the way down into South Florida. It's going to be chilly even for their standards. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
It's flu season. You're probably planning to get your kids their flu shots, but remember to get yours too. Vaccinating your family is the best way to protect you and your kids from the flu. Protect yourself. Protect your family. Get your flu shot today.
Hey everyone, I'm Gretchen Carey, and this is your community calendar. On January 27th, the Made in Burlington store will be having an event called Under the Sea Fish Painting for ages 7 and up. To register, go to the following website. On January 29th, the Burlington Public Library will be having an event called Winter Shindig. For more information, go to burlingtonpubliclibrary.org. On February 11th, from 6 to 8 p.m., the Parks and Recreation Department will be having the Daddy-Daughter Dance. Space is limited and pre-registration is required. To register, go to burlingtonrecreation.org.
We go now to BNEWS Sports reporter Anthony Matos for a look at the latest Red Devil action and this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Anthony Matos and this is your weekly sports report. The winter season continues as we hit mid-January. Girls basketball hosted the Wilmington Wildcats in the 14th and won by 1 point lead of 47-46. Originally, the team was going to head to Arlington to face the Spy Palms on the 17th. However, the match was postponed and will be played at a later date. The Boston Latin match scheduled on January 19th was postponed as well. Burlington's record stands at 4-5. Burlington boys also faced the Wildcats on the 14th. The Devils won against their opponent 72-54. On the 17th, they faced the Arlington Spy Ponders, where they won 97-72. They then headed to Leominster, where they fell 50-58 and dropped to 7-4. Girls ice hockey faced Wilmington Memorial High School on January 14th and came away with a shutout victory of 3-0. Burlington headed back to the Ice Palace on the 17th, where they took on the Arlington Spy Ponders. The Red Devils had a 2-5 loss and dropped to 5-4 on the season. Boys hockey headed to Wakefield on the 15th for a game against the Warriors. Burlington got their first win of the season, 3-2. They then hosted the Arlington Spy Ponders on the 17th, where they fell in the 2-6 loss. On the 19th, they took on Watertown at the Ice Palace and fell in the 1-0 loss and dropped to 1-7. Girls gymnastics had a match against the Melrose Red Raiders on January 18th. The team performed well as they won the meet with a final score of 140 to 135.8. Burlington now moves to 2-1 in the season. Boys gymnastics hosted Braintree High School on January 14th at BHS and took home a victory with a score of 95.9 to 93.4. The Red Devils took on Lowell on the 19th, where they won 110.9 to 110 and improved to 2-0-1 on the season. Both the indoor track teams had their final regular season meet on the January 13th against Wakefield at Boston University. The girls won 60-40 and finished second place in Middlesex League 12 Freedom Division. Burlington finishes the season at 4-1. As for the boys, they fell to the Warriors 42-58 and finished the season 4-1 as well. In addition, both teams were invited to the Northeast Invitational at Reggie Lewis Center in Boston on the 15th. One of the outcomes from the meet was Liz Breeby, Hope Hannafin, Paul Conti, and Colin Irwin set a school record at 3 minutes and 57 seconds during the 4x400 relay. Congrats to both teams. Junior Rithik Prakash was named Boston Globe District 2 All-Scholastics Fall 2021-22 Athlete of the Year. We now go to BNEWS Sports reporter Robert Paris.
Red Devil Track is making the headlines as junior Rithik Prakash was named the Boston Globe Cross Country District 2 Athlete of the Year for his performance during the fall season.
It's an honor. I really didn't expect it. I expected to get all scholastic, but to get Athlete of the Year was really a surprise, and I'm really happy about it.
Ultimately, we won the MIA Division 2A title. Rithik medaled. That advanced us to the All-State tournament, where we ended up second All-States, and Rithik was top 3. And ultimately, the Globe selected him based on the 2 weeks' performance as their Division II Athlete of the Year.
The entire team had to deal with a modified schedule the year prior, and not having any MIAA tournaments was a major letdown.
Season before, it was tough with the masks, but to come back out, no masks, and especially just to have a tournament, it was amazing, so yeah.
As the team's regular season came to a close on January 13th, they are gearing up for the Middlesex League meet on February 2nd.
Trying to stay focused, making sure I just do what Carr tells me. He's a great coach, and if I follow what he does, it leads to success.
You have to set high goals, and if he doesn't set high goals, then who cares if you reach them? So all-state champions are the goals this winter, this spring, and he's got a whole nother year ahead of him.
From Burlington High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Sports.
Boys swimming took on the Reading Rockets on January 13th, where they lost 65-87 and dropped to 0-4 on the season. Red Devil Wrestling had 7 Red Devils attend the Weymouth Wrestling Tournament during the holiday weekend. Senior captain Timmy Vadney, senior Ronan Oak, senior Nick Silva, juniors Marcus Tucci, Jaden Alford, Molly Maroney, and sophomore Alex McGilvery all participated. Burlington finished in 6th place as a team out of 14th. The Red Devils finished winning 17 matches and only had 9 losses. Burlington goes to 2-9-1 on the season. You can check out all the winter schedules at arborlive.com and type in Burlington High School. For more Red Devil action, go to the BNews Sports section at bcattv.org/sports and check out our Twitter page at BNews Sports. That's all for Weekly Sports Report. I'm Anthony Matos. Back to you guys in the studio.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo was another look at nature, but it's a unique one. It was sent in by Mary Elaine Leach and features an image she captured at the Mill Pond Reservoir. It shows a shape in the ice that resembles a tree, and it even has leaves to fill out the illusion. Thanks for the photo, Mary. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your winter activities, a family trip, or just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Remember to stay tuned after the news for this week's Burlington Public Schools updates for all the latest education news. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher, along with Rich Hosford, Dad Stefanak, Robert Paris, Peter Brown, Gretchen Carey, and Anthony Matos. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening. This is Burlington Public Schools Assistant Superintendent Patrick Larkin, along with Superintendent Eric Conti, with our Burlington Public Schools Weekly Update for January 21st, 2022. Before we get into the upcoming changes to our COVID protocols, we want to share our student and staff absent data, which is continuing to trend downward as we head into our 4th week next week since the December break. First, the student and staff absence data from this week.
Thank you, Patrick. When we look at the student absences, we had 352 on the 18th, 345 students absent on the 19th, and 298 students absent district-wide on the 20th. And again, our staff absences over the same dates were 43, 35, and 47. So our high was 80 2 weeks ago of staff absences, and our high 2 weeks ago was 600 students. So you can see we've had a dramatic decline.
And with that, we'll head into our COVID protocol update. We're letting you know that in accordance with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education and the Department of Public Health, our district is updating our COVID-19 guidelines with changes to begin this coming Monday, January 24th. In accordance with the state's updated language surrounding this new testing, which stated there is no longer the expectation that close contacts will be identified, and therefore any potential contacts do not need to quarantine. Instead, schools should shift their focus to monitoring symptomatic individuals.
So in a memo sent to schools Tuesday by Commissioner of Education Jeff Riley and the Acting Commissioner of Public Health Margaret Cook, they stated, and this is a quote, the data show that transmission from close contacts is a rare occurrence in schools, and that therefore extensive contact tracing and associated test and stay procedures are not adding significant value as a mitigation strategy despite the demand they place on the time of school in terms of health staff and school staff at large. As a result, we are recommending that school health personnel increase their focus on identifying symptomatic individuals rather than monitoring in-school close contacts who are unlikely to contract or spread the virus, end quote.
As a result of this new data, we are transitioning to an opt-in at-home testing program that will increase testing of our participating students and staff, regardless of their vaccination status. The at-home testing option will be available during the week of January 31st, 2022 for students. In addition to this new at-home antigen test option, we will continue with symptomatic testing for students whose families have previously consented to in-school testing.
As a part of this shift in the program, we are discontinuing contact tracing for in-school close contacts beginning, again, Monday, January 24th, 2022. This means that if your child is a potential contact in school, they may continue to come to school and do not have to quarantine as long as they remain asymptomatic. In addition, if your child is determined to be a close contact out of school, then CDC guidelines should be followed. In other words, these protocol changes only apply to school situations. According to the CDC, unvaccinated children will still need to quarantine for 5 days if there is a positive in their home and they can't completely separate from that positive.
Even if you have already given consent to have your child or your children participate in the test and stay program, this new at-home testing opportunity is voluntary, and only those who opt in will receive tests. To restate, you will need to opt in to this new protocol. Your prior consent does not apply. We strongly encourage you to fill out the form to opt in and receive at-home tests for your students. If you have questions, please contact COVID questions at BPS, actually it's COVID concerns at bpsk12.org.
Thank you and have a good weekend.